to thank the president of Ghana for making this the year of return, inviting everyone back home.
Yeah.
I think that was a powerful move, as well as the dual citizenship law that will soon have a regulation with it that would allow us to apply for dual citizenship. So I really do appreciate Ghana for that. It's interesting because back in the early 1920s, a century ago, Liberia was the mecca of Pan-Africanism. All the Pan-Africanists from the early 20th century, they wanted to go to Liberia. Marcus Garvey,
right.
Henry Highland Garnett, Alexander Crummell, Martin Delaney.
Right.
It was all about Liberia, Nigeria.
Right.
Now Ghana has taken the mantle of Pan-Africanism.
Well, you know, our co-host, Michael A. Griffin, CEO of Ashanti Produce International, is in Ghana right now.
Wow.
I told you he was going to be on. He said he's going to try to call in tonight.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
he's actually working on getting his residency so he can get a dual citizenship.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but he has to stay there at least 30 days.
Yeah.
You know, so he's thinking about it. He wants to do it now, but he's contemplating because his wife's having a family reunion in July.
He might got to start them 30 over.
Yeah, so but he's in Ghana right now, working on the Reclaim the Grain project with Ashanti Produce International.
And we better reclaim that grain. Not to cut you off, Brother David, but I just read an article about how the European crop corporations, Monsanto and others, they're trying to expand intellectual property rights to indigenous African grain seed. So they want to say that I own this grain, this seed is my intellectual property, and you cannot use it or reproduce it in any way without my permission.
They do that here in America already.
Oh, yes, but they're trying to do it in Africa.
Wow.
If it passes, oh, my goodness, that would be so destructive.
It will. And so he's there working, and we're doing some projects there in Africa because, as I mentioned when I talked to the people in Africa, that, you know, the world in real time right now is seeing a paradigm shift here in America.
Yes.
And the shift does not include any plans for black people here.
No, sir.
So I said we need to look to Africa for sustainability.
Oh, absolutely. You better.
Yeah.
One of the central tenets of Pan-Africanism is that there's no future for African people without Africa. We only go as far as the mother country.
Right.
The Honorable Marcus Garvey said a strong man is strong everywhere. The Chinese are strong wherever they go. The Jews are strong wherever they go. The Africans are weak wherever we are. Until Africa is strong, none of us will be. And I think one of the biggest contradictions of the black American struggle, the black British struggle, the black Caribbean struggle, we have always fought in an isolated way, separate from the continent. Our struggles have never been united. Pan-Africanism has existed in theory since Garvey, but not in practice.
That's right. And that's one of the things we don't do. We don't practice. We talk a lot, but we don't put it into practical application.
I just heard Dr. Umar said that the Africans were given the flag.
Yes.
They were given the paper.
In the anthem.
And the anthem. There's no political power.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, I believe that so much of African leadership is handpicked. And I think that the mistake that Africa is making, just like Black America, is that we are getting distracted with political campaigns and not resource control. See, I don't care if he's the president of Ghana or you're the president of Ghana. What I care about is the redistribution of the wealth and who actually controls it. See, they're distracting us with these party, you know, you go to any African country, just like here, you got your Democrats, your Republicans, you know, but it's different names. We're worried about popularity contests instead of power domination. I don't care who's in charge. I care about controlling who's in charge. And so while we're worrying about putting a personality in there, all of them are carrying out the same agenda because they're too busy signing those loans from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which are impoverishing Africa because the structural adjustment programs that they force the African governments to implement as a consequence of the loan cannot in any way, shape, or form benefit Africa. I mean, look, 1,000% interest. Who gonna pay that back? Mandatory population control, hysterectomy, abortion, and gay rights. Who wants that in Africa? I remember when Obama was president, he threatened the president of Liberia and the president of, Tanzania or Uganda, and said, if you don't legalize gay marriage, we're going to cut off your aid. Yes. And so why would an American president be concerned about gay marriage in Africa? because it's about population control.
Right.
The more homosexuals I make, the less heterosexual babies are born.
Yeah.
You understand? Look at America. What's going on in America right now? 26 of 50 states have a zero population growth for white people.
Wow.
More white people are dying than are being born in 26 states. This was reported by the New York Times, by the way.
Yeah.
You understand?
Right.
So that's why you see this aggression against us, because while they're plotting our demise and our population control, nature is automatically giving them their own.
That's what I don't understand. They must don't understand evolution.
Without question.
Yeah, because they continue to try to agitate us when they should be trying to get along with us. They should be trying to please us.
Absolutely.
They're going to need us.
They need a shot of melanin to last another century. My issue with Africa, Black America, the vote ain't going to liberate no. If voting could change Africa, voting would be illegal. Mm-hmm. If voting could change Black America, voting would be illegal.
I tell people all the time,
yes.
Politics is not going to liberate us.
No.
No way in the world.
Here's what I ask people who say you got to vote. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against voting when you have a reason to.
That's right.
But when people say, we need to vote, did Africa get its independence through voting? Hell no.
Right.
Blood. Did we get out of slavery through voting? Blood. Did we get the Civil Rights Bill through voting? Blood. Did we get the Voting Rights Act through voting? Blood. Everything black people got in the world, you got through blood.
Because they ain't going to give it to you.
They ain't giving you nothing.
That's right.
They ain't giving
that kind of person.
I told South Africa, what y'all need to be worrying about is not whether the ANC wins the next election. It's not whether the DA wins the next election. It's not if the EFF wins the next election. When are we going to get the redistribution of the wealth? None of these parties control a single diamond mine in Africa. Let's get back to the resources.
Right.
We don't need any more rights. We don't need any more political campaigns. We need a redistribution of the wealth. Even in America, reparations. I support reparations. In Cobra's convention is actually this weekend in Detroit. But guess what's more revolutionary than reparations? Redistribution of the wealth. Because if you redistribute the wealth, you're going to get way more in that redistribution than you'll ever get from a reparations package.
I saw my barber yesterday. I said they wanted a part of the reparations that they could do is give everybody a 800 credit score.
Without question. But I'm going to go deeper than that, Brother Dave. You know the biggest reason why they don't want to do reparations in America? Because the biggest thing they don't care about the money. They print that. They print that. They don't care about that. All you're going to do is give it back to them anyway. The biggest fear the white man has about reparations for blacks in America is that we may demand a return of all the tens of thousands of acres of black farmed land throughout this country that was robbed from us. And if they gave us back all the land that we really own, how much of America would be black? They don't want to give back the real estate. They don't care about the money. They don't want to hear that conversation about taking the land back. Tulsa, Charleston, Rosewood, Wilmington. How much land in this country is really owned by black folks?
Or Native Americans.
Without question.
So, Doctor, this is great. I am so happy to have you here today.
I want that AU audience, though. Africa, if you're listening, I need to speak in front of the AU. I need to do it for Nkrumah, Lumumba, Touré, Cabral, Sankara, Biko, Sobukwe. The list goes on.
That's right.
The greatest speech I could ever give is to the heads of the African nations.
I think you're going to get it.
I hope I get it.
It's going to be today or it's going to be tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
When you speak, it just casts my mind back to Africa. I know that this is not being political at all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because if we can't be political right now, that we can't change the things that we want to change.
Exactly.
Because we're saying that we don't want Africa to really, we want Africa to really look at us, African Americans, right now, to see what we have lost.
Yes.
Because we're not able to fight for it.
Yes. So
if we can tell them how to deal with that right now, it will be too late.
Oh, yes.
So my question is this. Do our African leaders, from your perspective, do they really, really, really understand how the European countries are dividing them, just as they divided us when we came on that ship to this country or to other countries first? They divided us, They changed our language. We couldn't communicate with each other. And with that division, we could not unite for anything.
Yes.
Same happened on the continent of Africa itself. It has been partitioned into Francophone, Anglophone, and whatever it is. You know better.
Yes. Yes.
So our African leaders really today understanding that what was done to us on the slave ship when we touched down on the U.S. is being done to them as well in Ghana, in Liberia, in Nigeria, to the extent that even though we are the same black people, we've been divided with ideologies that we don't love each other anymore, or we cannot do anything.
I think that was part of the major plan, is divide and conquer.
Yes, and I believe that African leaders are aware of it, but they are afraid because they know what the World Bank and IMF will do. They know what the corporations will do if they get out of hand. Not only that, okay, most African countries have their money in European banks. So they are afraid of being shut down and shut out. France has the ability to sabotage the economy of any Francophone country. Britain has the ability to sabotage the economy of any Anglophone country because the money is in their banks. The first thing African nations need to do is get their money out of the European banks. There is no way in hell a sovereign nation should have another country printing their money. That's the first thing they got to get rid of. Number two, they have to stop taking the loans and they have to refuse to pay back the debt. Why are African nations paying back the debt? I read a report on the debt of African nations. Did you know that more than half of the GNP of African nations is paying on the interest of the debt, not even the debt. The principal don't even change, just the interest. More than half of your economy is paying off a loan that you shouldn't even owe.
That's right.
Insanity.
That's right.
Insanity.
It is. When you're talking about European banks controlling African nations, and I was thinking about earlier how we were talking about so much resistance here. People were talking, I don't want to change the subject, but people were talking about you and they're talking about, well, what is he doing with that money? He's doing the campaign to raise money to build a school.
Man.
And that's what I said. But they don't ask that about when they pay them tithes to the churches every week.
No, they don't.
They don't say nothing about their pastor riding
Never.
around in the big fat
Never.
Cadillac.
They never ask them rappers.
That.
They don't go to them rappers and say, what you do with all the money we do with our ticket sales. I ain't never seen them down at the school board meeting asking the school district of Philadelphia, what you doing with my tax dollars. But soon a black man say he wants to raise money and do something positive. Now we need a business plan. We need a curriculum. Negro ain't we got a GED. Talk about he need to review my business plan. Get the hell out of here.
That's right. They did the same thing with the millionaire project. Well, what the nation of Islam do with all that money?
Yeah.
I gave, and I don't care. They could have used my money for wallpaper as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. And the argument don't stop, Brother Dave, because now that I got the school, now they say, well, is it really his? How long he gonna take to open it? You understand me? Why the lights ain't on? Of course the lights ain't on because I'm waiting for the electrician to do the full inspection, because if I turn that electric on and start a fire, we ain't gonna have no school.
As a matter of fact, I heard you have you requested people to come down Tuesday.
Tuesday, 10 to 2, we having a cleanup day because it looks like we will be able to get started with some of the construction soon, some of the restoration. Yes, sir. So we want to move some of the furniture out the way, clean up some of the debris, because my goal is to have the smaller school, the Marcus Garvey building, ready before it gets cold outside, so we can start operating.
Listen, I want to invite our listeners to join the conversation if you feel up to it. You can reach us here in the studios of WURD by dialing 215-634-8065. In fact, we have a caller on the phone. I've been waiting a while. We're going to go to the caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to New World View.
Peace and love.
Good and wonderful. Powerful, brother. I love that. Uphill is better than downhill.
Uphill is stronger than downhill, but it's a better place to be. I'm going to remember that one, brother. As far as the police situation in Philly, I'm not too familiar with that. But with the H.R. 40 reparations bill, obviously it's not a bad thing. But I do have 4 concerns about reparations. Number one, last time I checked, they took Africans from Africa and spread them all over the world. Why do we have so many different reparation struggles? Why is there one for the Caribbean islands? Why is there one for Africa? Why is there one for the UK? Why is there one for America? We should unite that struggle, because if we don't, the white man will be able to play divide and conquer, separate and rule. It should be one reparations, not a million different ones. Number 2, I haven't heard anybody talk about the psychological cost of the ma'afa, of slavery. When are we going to compute the psychological cost? Because guess what? The greatest damage reaped upon Africans is not the unpaid labor for 243 years. The biggest price tag is the psychological damage reaped upon us that we're still suffering from to this very day.
Post-traumatic stress.
Post-traumatic stress disease. Where is the reparations price tag for that? That's number 2. Number 3, I haven't heard anybody talk about all the lands of black people that have been confiscated since the end of slavery. We have to include the black land grab back into the reparations package. Number 4, what about the psychological aftershocks of slavery? All of this hell we've been catching for the last 153 years since the 13th Amendment, are we going to ignore that and just focus on slavery? We're going to deal with slavery and everything that comes along with that. On top of that, the last piece, I don't think we have effectively included everyone in this reparations lawsuit that participated in the I don't hear anything about the North African states at all that's dominated by the Arabs. I don't hear anything about the Arabian Peninsula. I haven't heard anything about the Queen of England. There's so many different corporations that benefited from slavery. They're not even mentioned. What about Brooks Brothers? I don't even know if y'all know this, but Brooks Brothers got started by making slave dungarees. That's how they began their clothing business.
You know, and I often argue with people when they say, we don't have anything to do with what happened 150 years ago. In fact, Mitch McConnell was saying that. And I'm saying, well, as long as the descendants of the slave owners are continuing to receive dividends,
absolutely.
You know, why shouldn't we be?
Absolutely. Last time I checked, whenever there's a lawsuit, if the parents die, the children automatically receive that as the benefactor.
That's right.
So we already know that there is an inheritance involved whenever you're dealing with payouts that involve sins that lasted longer than a natural lifetime. Here's what I say to white folks who keep on saying, I wasn't a slave, my people didn't have slaves. If you go through my ancestors, nobody owned slaves. That might be true. Not all white people own slaves. But can you show me a white person who did not benefit from slavery directly or indirectly? Just like you can't show me a white person today who doesn't benefit from the oppression of black people directly or indirectly. You may not have been a slave owner, but you benefit from the fact that there was slave owning.
That's right. I say when they stop accepting those dividends,
exactly,
we'll stop asking for compensation.
Absolutely.
That's right. So, listen, did you have any other questions, Maurice? What? Thank you so much. What astonishes me is that they talk about reparations, but yet they pay reparations to the slave masters that own the slaves. They paid for their property losses.
Yes, they did, and they pay reparations to people who've suffered crimes that this country wasn't even involved in. I mean, they appropriated reparations for the European Jews based on the Holocaust.
That's right.
And that didn't even take place on this soil.
That's right.
You understand?
Not only that, but they continue to pay every year or give money to our tax money.
Yes.
To Israel. Every year.
Number one source of American investing foreign aid.
That's right.
And even during apartheid, when all the countries was boycotting South Africa, Israel continued to donate to South Africa, and America continued to donate to Israel, so America was still supporting apartheid when it claimed to be boycotted.
That's right. They supported the apartheid activities in South Africa. You know, when I saw you on YouTube, I think, on a recent video, you had these machetes. They looked
Yes,
so
sir.
pretty. They were like pearl handles,
Yeah.
and the jewels all around them. I said, look at that. So, I mean, and you would pick up one, and you pick up the other.
Yeah.
Was that symbolic? Or
Yeah, those are swords of the Orishas. I actually bought those in Philadelphia and in Camden, New Jersey at the Orisha shops. So each one was a different. So there was a Shango one,
right.
And what makes it unique to the Orisha is the handle has the elekes and the stones of that Orisha on the end of it.
Yeah,
you know, so
it was pretty.
Yeah. So I mean, once we get to school, the school gonna be a nice decorated school. It's gonna be African culture in and out through FDMG.
All right, listen. We're here live in the studios of 96.1 FM, 900 AM, and online worldwide at WURDradio.com. I'm David Barnes, host of the New Worldview Radio program. We're here with Dr. Umar Abdul Johnson, #1 sought-after elected in the world. And he's here talking about any and everything that he wants to talk about. I know he'll be appearing next Sunday, the last Sunday. Is it the last day or last Sunday of the month?
Last Sunday of the month.
Last Sunday of the month, June the 30th, at 4 p.m. Doors open at 3 at the Garden of Prayer World's Prayer Center, 2217 North 29th Street. And I listened to the show on Friday with Brother Shamari.
Yes.
And I was driving, and I couldn't even, I had to pull over and park and listen for the whole time. I said, I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to listen to all of this.
Yes,
so
sir.
you have so much to say, man, and I want to let you know that you can say anything you want today.
Thank you.
On New Worldview. Is there anything that you wanted to talk on or touch on while you're here?
One of the biggest things, Brother Dave, and I'll reiterate from the previous show, and that is I got to thank Philadelphia for standing by me, my hometown. Through those 4.5 years, we were raising money to purchase the school through the negativity that came. You know, a lot of black folks around the world continue to stand by me. Philadelphia is one of those places I regularly receive donations from Philadelphia, North Philly, South Philly, Northwest Philly, even Darby, Yaden, Sharon Hill. Thank you, Philadelphia, for all the donations and all my supporters around the world for continuing to donate, not listening to the negativity until we actually got those schools. It meant a lot to me because we started 4.5 years ago without a penny or a school,
That's right.
And now we got 2 of them.
And that's amazing. That's great. And it really astonishes me how your biggest critics come from black people. And that's what I understand. You know, of course you're going to get some resistance from other ethnicities, but why do black people resist you so much?
Jealousy, hate. You know, I just look at what Marcus Garvey went through 100 years ago.
Yeah.
If black leaders could get together and go to the government and beg the government to get rid of you, I mean, this is the person they're supposed to be fighting for their people.
That's right.
They go to him and beg them, get rid of him. Wow. I'm not surprised that they do anything to me, brother.
They didn't even like Malcolm X, but now he has a stand.
Absolutely. Well, they love to celebrate you after you're gone.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, none of the detractors, here's what I find most interesting about my detractors. 90% of them I've never met.
That's right.
Don't know them from a can of paint.
That's right.
And none of them are doing anything constructive for the. How do you criticize someone with proof of work and you've done nothing?
That's right.
So,
yes.
So just take me back to the question about the division. The question is, why are you being opposed from your own house, from your own foundation, from your own community?
A lot of it is HNIC, head Negro in charge. A lot of people perceive me as the HNIC. They want to be the HNIC. All they got to do is do the work. It ain't hard, but they don't want to do the work.
Who really planted those divisions? What is the source of those divisions?
Well, we know the source of it. You know, the propaganda end of this American society will talk bad about you. I remember Malcolm X said that the white man will pay a black person to come and kill you so that he could say, well, I didn't kill you, the black person killed you.
Absolutely. They love to do that.
Yeah.
And I do think some of it, without question, is coming from the government. Without question. I even received an anonymous phone call. It sounded like a white man. Could have been a brother, but it sounded like a white man, and I couldn't trace the number. But he said he named a certain detractor of mine who has a page on YouTube. All she does is make videos about me. She doesn't show her face.
Wow.
I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
If you go to her page, hundreds of videos.
Wow.
Nothing but Dr. Umar character assassination videos.
Wow.
He left a voicemail. He said, I just want to let you know that the person named as such and such on YouTube is a paid government agent. that is a full-time job of hers to attack your character.
Yeah.
Yes.
They call them trolls, right?
Trolls if they just self-motivated.
Right.
But if we're talking about systematically planted agents of the power structure,
right,
that's more than a troll.
Agent provocateurs.
Agent provocateurs.
Yeah.
Agent provocateurs.
Okay.
And when I open a school, I'm going to have to be extra careful because they're going to send them in. I know for a fact that at least 100 resumes I got ain't nothing but agent provocateurs.
Wow. Yeah, you got to be careful who you let in your circle. So listen, we're going to go back to the phone line. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so by dialing 215-634-8065, and you can get in where you fit in right here with me at WURD. Good evening, caller. Welcome to New Worldview. What's your first name and where you calling from? Yes? Hey, Eric from New Orleans. How you doing, man?
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Relying on somebody else, right? Good evening, WRD.
Without question, I think it's a distraction. I believe social network has been one of the greatest distractions ever invented. I remember I grew up during the video game age. Pac-Man and Centipede, and then for the last 10 years, video games was the greatest distraction for young black America. That along with hip-hop and I never thought anything could overtake the video game, but social network has. You know, I commented last week on an interview when I learned that Minister Farrakhan was banned from Facebook. I was not happy to hear that they did that to the minister, but this is what I said. I hope they ban us all. And the reason I hope that they ban us all, because number one, they're never going to let us use those platforms to spread the message we need to spread in the first place. Yeah. And secondly, black people have gotten so politically lazy, all they want to do is sit home and surf those social network pages. Yeah. I want them to kick all the activists off, because that'll force black people to get off their behind, get off the couch, go to the community meeting, and let's organize.
Either that or they'll stay asleep on their couch.
Absolutely. But I support a wholesale ban of all black activists from social network to force black people to get up and do something.
Yeah. So I
I've only had one athlete contact me in my life to potentially donate. And I believe he had every intention of doing so, but we just never was able to connect. He left me voice message. I left you his. I don't want to give his name, but I will say this. Yeah. He was a member of the Golden State. He is a member of the Golden State Warriors. And he actually left me a direct voicemail. He's a superstar, and he was going to donate, but we just never connected. He's the only celebrity ever, that particular Golden State Warrior, and he's one of the more famous ones. He's the only celebrity to ever leave me a voicemail to discuss potentially donating to my school. None of the rappers, none of the R&B, none of the actors. They all know me. They text me. They come to my lectures. They come backstage. But when it comes time to donate or stand next to me, they don't want to be involved. Because at the end of the day, they are scared to offend the hand that feeds them, the white power structure. Not to mention, for most of them, their music is bought by who? White children in the suburbs. So they don't want to cut off the gravy train. They talk black power, but when it comes actually down to doing black power, most of them are not about it.
Yeah. What about Jay-Z? You know, he's providing legal services to a lot of the...
I like Jay.
Yeah.
I support Jay-Z. Yeah. He has to be a little bit more careful because he's higher up on the totem pole. Yeah, that's right. But for the things I've seen him and Beyonce do, I got to commend them because you got rappers who don't have half as much to lose, who don't have half as much success and stardom and time in the game, and they have stuck an index out way more than people less than them. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, Jay-Z and Beyonce, of course you can always do more, but I can be content with what they've done so far.
I often wonder, you know, with these athletes and celebrities, why they don't invest in our community. It's a gold mine in our community. The Dominican Republic have come in and taken over where the Koreans have left off, where the Jews left it over to them. You know, why don't they get some of that money that's in our community?
Because they'll end up like Bill Cosby. Any black person that tries to systematically affect the black economy in such a way that it could rival the power of the white economy has to be done away with. That's one of the reasons they deported Marcus Garvey. Yeah. But I still think they should do it. See, if they do it as a group, they can't all be shut down.
That's right.
It's only when an individual alone is operating without the rest of the support. It's no different than Africa. If one African leader speaks up without the support of the others, he can be isolated and assassinated. Right. But if they all stand up as an African union and say, we ain't paying no more debt, then you can't take them all out. Right. So our black celebrities need to stand up as a unit and say, we're going to do this for our people economically.
And I say people all the time, they say, well, how do people get to do stuff, open up some businesses in our community? Because they have associations. It's not the individual. Associations will put them up, pay for it, and they don't have to have no kind of degrees, nothing. They just say, well, here's a store, you run the store, and we'll even give you an apartment on top of the store.
Yeah, but the problem with that is a lot of them got a white attorney, white publicist, white accountant, white personal assistant. Yes. Jay-Z is one of the few, from what I understand, most of his economic infrastructure is black people. Yes. But for a lot of them, their whole infrastructure is white, especially the athletes.
Yeah. I know that Beyonce turned down a campaign, I think it was from Nike or somebody, and she went with Adidas because the people that they sent in to run the campaign, she said, none of it all look like me. So
that's right. That's right. And I appreciate them too. They're doing a pretty good job. I'm just waiting for the day, and I dream about it every night, y'all. I dream that a celebrity is going to call me one day, Brother Dave, and say, listen, how much you need to restore them buildings, which is $1 million. And I'm just waiting for one of them to call me and say, come get this check, man.
And I don't understand why they won't do that. I mean, they could do it anonymously.
You saw what Tyler Perry did last Christmas, right? Tyler Perry walked into a Wall Street in Atlanta and paid off $500,000 in layaway gifts.
Wow.
He did that for Walmart. Walmart, that's a white corporation that's richer than you, Tyler Perry. Yeah. And you giving them $500,000. That could have resurrected my whole campus.
That's right. Yeah, so Eric, you had any other questions for Dr. Umar before we, we are so far behind, we ain't that far behind, but we want to go to a break. And when we're going to come back, we're going to continue the conversation here in the studios of 96.1 FM, 900 AM, and online worldwide at WURDradio.com. We're here in the studio with Dr. Umar Abdul-Jabbar, who will be appearing here in Philadelphia next Sunday, June the 30th. Also in the studio with us is Patrick and Jabbar. I want to talk to you, Patrick, about the party that you invited me to yesterday. It was so nice. Well, we're going to talk about all that in the 10 o'clock hour when we do the New Worldview Encore, where we play some Afrobeat music. And we have some other callers on the phone line, but we have a line open for you if that's what you want to do. So listen, everybody, just stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
All right. I'm looking forward to that Africa trip.
Yeah.
I've been going once a year for 6 years.
Yeah.
I need that boost. It's like a battery charge.
A resurrection.
Yeah. I got some other bad news. I don't know if you want to speak on it, but you know the Nat Turner land down in Virginia that was owned by Elder Khalifa? He was a black book publisher. He published
Don't hold me down and slow me down, but I say no, no, no.
Live event on 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
What's up, WURD family? This is Yuki Washington from CBS 3 Eyewitness News, asking you to tune in to the new Worldview radio program with David Barnes, Janina Carter, and Q Rainey, exclusively on 900 AM WURD.com.
Hi, my name is Canada Terrell, and I'm Flash from the original Five Heartbeats. And when I'm here in Philadelphia, I listen to the WURD.
It's Kelpie Vibes.
Hey, who pulled the plug on that? I don't believe it. This instrument is so sensitive. If you just look at it hard, it's gonna. .1 FM, 900 AM, and online worldwide at WURDradio.com. I'm David Barnes, photo man for you too. As I keep telling y'all each and every week, we are gearing up going to Ghana, West Africa. I say that many of you may not be able to go physically, but you can all go psychologically and mentally. A lot of people keep saying, well, David, I want to go on this trip with you to Ghana. I keep trying to tell them, we're not doing a trip this year. We're going there to broadcast live worldwide in Ghana during the year of return that we talked about earlier. And maybe next year, if we get enough interest.